It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful, like, little romantic drama. Very weird.
I like when Lynch is grounded in his weirdness. Does that make sense? This movie.
You mean like Lost Highway?
Yeah, well,
Lost Highway. That's like a 4-part podcast.
I'm calling you at your house, right?
I love that scene.
I like when there's, I don't know, Wild at Heart feels kind of grounded, but it's also really weird. It's not super, like, you can follow the narrative.
It's kind of like him doing a mainstream movie.
Yeah, but it's a David Lynch version of a mainstream movie.
We tried that with Elephant Man, but I don't think he had much to do with it other than, like, he probably talked about the shots, but that was very much a studio film.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of like it. It's a mainstream, it's like a love story, but it's a David Lynch movie. Yes. But it doesn't feel like Mulholland Drive.
No, yeah, it's not like it's very much like a mainstream film, but it is David Lynch. It's like a David Lynch version of a mainstream film. Exactly like what you said. Yeah,
thank you.
Excuse me, my ego's just been inflated.
Let's take a break. Case 38. Where's Mark's ego?
The other one I picked was Lord of War.
Oh, yeah.
2005 classic.
Very good.
Jared Leto plays a drug-addicted brother. Man, Jared Leto at that time, he was just playing drug addicts.
Requiem for a Dream.
Just bounced one right after the next. He's like, when I get older, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to play the Joker. Yeah. So, I'm going to be in Dallas Buyers Club. That's not going to be a drug-addicted film either.
And that's Ethan Hawke in that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ethan Hawke's also in that too.
What a great cast.
Is it? Yeah. Dynamite film. And it was at the time whenever you could, Nicolas Cage was doing his movies where he was going full Nick Cage, which this was also at the same time as The Wicker Man. And there was a lot of other movies that he was doing where he was just screaming and throwing things around. Of course, this is nearly a decade after Kiss of Death, where he just walks into the bar, screams at the one random guy and says, F you.
Yeah, a BMF. Isn't he a BMF in that movie?
What was the one scene? Oh, bring it back to the original question. Like, what movie would I want to be an extra on? It would not have been Kiss of Death, because whenever he's walking out of the bar and he grabs the random extra. I don't know if the extra even knew what was going on, or if he was actually a stunt guy. He may have been, but he grabs him and throws him on the ground. Yeah, and the guy looks shocked because he's like, "Whoa, I'm just supposed to be standing here." But that was Nicolas Cage back in those days.
He was beefy in that movie because he was a big guy. He was threatening, physically threatening.
Yeah, he was a big fella.
Beefy. All right.
But I chose Lord of War because it really showed his range of acting, and he was portraying a real character, Victor Bout, who was a Soviet Union arms dealer. But I love the line that he says in Lord of War when he says he sold guns to literally everybody and weapons to every person you can imagine. He goes, except Osama bin Laden. It's like, not because of any morals, but because his checks would always bounce. It's such a great line.
Yeah, that movie is refreshing too, because it does show you that he can dial it back.
Yeah, and he is a real actor, and you can really see that in those films.
And then you have you're right.
You do have like the nutty stuff that he's done, and of course, what was the last?
He's not winking at the camera.
Yeah, he's not Jimmy Fallon.
I do like his National Treasure movies. I love him in.
Those are fun to watch.
He's a lead in that one. Does that make so? He's a lead in most of his movies, but in this one, he's just like a Disney lead, like the male lead.
Yeah, he's very, very clean cut. Very, like. Although he is an adventurer, he's not like dirty. He's not Indiana Jones,
They even have a scene where they buy new clothes, and they buy very nice clothes. It's like a half-hour dressing scene where they each drop about $700.
God dang.
Well, I want to do the math on the clothes they bought.
They bought them from the guys from 30 Days a Night, the vampires from 30 Days a Night.
They're $500 for that jacket. Like, is that a yes?
2 bottles of blood? Yeah. You drive a hard bargain there.
All right, I guess where's the blood van? All right, so now we kind of had this thing where we said who was the MVP of the 1980s romance movies, but I kind of want to do your recommendations because that could take us a while. So I just want to answer that real quick and say John Cusack. Now Nick Cage had Peggy Sue Got Married, he had Moonstruck, he had Valley Girl, in
Peggy Sue Got Married, he's not the
no.
He's kind of like a background. He's like a
I guess because he's in it. I guess. Yeah. Right? But for me, I immediately went to like a Diane Keaton. I was thinking about Meg Ryan, but
that's more of 90s, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And then
that
Joe
versus
versus the Volcano.
70s.
Yeah, because '77 was Annie Hall.
Yeah,
So
I love
it was
that
weird.
movie so much.
I thought Annie Hall was in the '80s. I thought Joe vs. Volcano was in the '80s.
Joe vs. Volcano was
90.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was 86.
Yeah, see, that's what but I just went easy. I went not very creative for me, but John Cusack, because of Say Anything, Better Off Dead, The Sure Thing, and One Crazy Summer. I've watched all those movies countless times. I thought he was the coolest kind of romantic lead in the 1980s because he wasn't the jerk. He wasn't
He was like Nicolas Cage in Valley Girl.
Yeah, he was
like the punk rock guy that he was cool and lovable, and his girlfriend was always the polar opposite of who.
But he wasn't Tommy, right? Yeah, he
yeah.
wasn't. And so
it's almost like Valley Girl kind of laid the foundation for all of this.
Yeah, you have Say Anything, Lloyd Dobler, Diane Court. And also, what I liked about Lloyd Dobler is he was a nice guy, but he could also he could beat you up. Like, he was a karate. He was good at kickboxing, so he's a nice dude who could also probably lay you out. I liked him in Better Off Dead because he's just so weird. And then The Sure Thing, he and Daphne Zuniga, I love their chemistry. And then One Crazy Summer is just weird, him and Demi Moore hoops. And then he had a cameo. He was in 16 Candles, but he wasn't one of the core.
Yeah, he was one of the dorks, the one that he put a bra on his head. Yeah. They also did that in a Weird Science, remember that?
Oh yeah, a lot of bras on heads in the 80s.
Why was that? Why was that a thing?
I picked the Q.
My first thought whenever you had texted me this was my first immediate reaction was C. Thomas Howell for some reason.
Interesting.
Because I always pictured him as more of like an 80s name. Because he did dominate the 80s. He had a ton of movies.
Outsiders.
Did Outsiders, Red Dawn, Soul Man, which I don't know how that movie even got made. Ooh, that was a rough one. Try watching that one nowadays.
If you just say that to somebody, hey, C. Thomas, Soul Man. I was watching clips from North the other day. Remember that movie with Elijah Craig? It had
Bruce Willis,
Kathy Bates, and another guy. I think Abe Vigoda.
Abe Vigoda was in that?
I don't know, maybe. But they were in brownface for Native American Inuits, and you're like, Kathy Bates.
And then here we are with the Lone Ranger and Johnny Depp.
Tonto. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, that was read the review that Ebert wrote about North. You'll get a good laugh. He hates that movie.
It was a bad movie. I didn't even like it when it came out.
Horrible.
It was stupid. I mean, I was like the age of that kid too. It was like I would have been like 10 or 11 when it came out.
I was like, you got it easy, kid.
What are you complaining about?
I bet you kids who actually had bad lives watched that movie and went, I hate this child.
But my first thoughts were going to see Thomas Howell because he did Secret Admirer. Soul Man, regardless of the plot of the film, does have, I don't know how she falls in love with him, but anyways, I would figure he probably would have just got beat up. But she does fall in love with him, so it is kind of like a romantic comedy, even though it is very backwards way. And then he did Return of the Musketeers. So he had certain films throughout the 80s where he was doing a lot of romantic comedies, and they were dropped like sporadically. It was 85, 86, and 89.
So he was just a lot of 80s. See Thomas Howell is what you're saying.
And he did a lot of movies and TV shows in the 80s. And then in the 90s, he just kind of petered out. And now he just plays, kind of like Matthew Modine is just kind of like a background supporting character in various films, which, at their age, why not?
Matthew Modine had a good run in Stranger Things.
Yeah, a great run in almost every movie he does. He did, 47 Meters Down.
Yep.
And then in a movie that I worked on, which I finally is now on demand, An Actor Prepares, he plays a character in that too.
Nice.
So
the Mo Dean.
Yeah.
All right. So
I went to him, but then I started doing more research, and after doing more research, I found that Patrick Dempsey.
Oh yeah.
He would have been the guy who would have been the real king of the 80s rom-coms. I mean,
Can't Buy Me Love.
Heaven Help Us, In the Mood. As you said, Can't Buy Me Love, In a Shallow Grave, Some Girls, Lover Boy, and Happy Together. That spans from 85 to 89.
He had a long run there.
Yeah, he was killing it left and right. And he did a lot of movies, and he was very classically handsome. Even to this day, he's still a very handsome man. He plays...
Isn't he McDreamy? Isn't that what his name? There's a McDreamy, there's a McSteamy. Grey's Anatomy. You know that? Those are their nicknames.
I never watched the show.
Yeah, in Grey's Anatomy, there's a Dr. McDreamy and there's a Dr. McSteamy.
Is that what his name is?
I think he was McDreamy.
I mean, he's a good-looking guy.
McDreamy.
Still very good-looking.
All right, so you picked the Demps.
I say Patrick Dempsey, but some honorable mentions. I mean, you already said John Cusack. Tom Cruise, which, we know now people associate Tom Cruise more as like an action star now, which is kind of crazy to think about considering he's in his 50s. He's still doing extremely well and still doing really cool stunts in movies.
Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald. That's a great. I wrote down for women. I did
actors.
I did men and
yeah.
women. But Tom Cruise. I mean, he did Losing It, Risky Business, Cocktail, which brought the Beach Boys back.
Top Gun.
Was that what would you call it? A romantic comedy?
Well, romance. I guess it has romance in it, right?
Yeah, I guess you could lean that.
Yeah.
But and then All the Right Moves, which I guess you could chalk that up to the same thing as Top Gun. But all those movies just came out like boom right after the other. Then he just kind of didn't. He just did more like action films in the mid '80s, or more kind of like mid 20s characters. And then I guess when Cocktail happened, he was like, "I'm going to try to be more of an adult," which take it or leave it.
Yeah. It was time.
It's a fun movie to watch. It's not a bad film. It's not like, you could watch, Patrick Swayze movies and you're still like, you watch them nowadays and it's like, I watched Roadhouse and I was like, oh my God. How did this happen?
Best Tai Chi in a movie ever.
Best lines in a movie ever.
Yeah.
The most intimidating lines ever. Jeez Louise. And for women, as far as 80s rom-coms went, everybody just immediately goes to Molly Ringwald, obviously, because 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. And she also did The Pickup Artist and For Keeps. And those movies were, that spanned from 1984 to 1988, which, so she was turning them out one right after the other. But then when she turned down John Hughes, that was kind of like when her career went to shit, because she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress and as a woman, as opposed to John Hughes, who was forever stuck in high school, which say what you will about his movies. Sometimes when you're in your 50s, you gotta let go of the fact that you went to high school. But Blink-182 is still going strong, so I don't know.
Yeah, I love Blink-182. Don't hit.
California was a little bit of a rough record. It was not. The first song was okay.
They got a Grammy nomination for that.
Yeah, well, Elvis only won one Grammy ever, and it was for Best Gospel Record. So
you're comparing Elvis to Blink-182? Hey. No.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash, I think, all won.
Yeah, exactly. See, Blink, like that. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Blink, and Elvis. I'm a grown man, and everyone has their own opinion, but when people start hating on Blink, I'm like, All right, so what else?
Put on my Dickie shorts.
I thought about Julia Roberts as well, but she controlled the 90s. She had Steel Magnolia and, Fry Green Steel Magnolia
was the 90s.
She had that great line in what Steel Magnolia is, I would rather love somebody for 30 seconds with all my heart, something like that, the wedding scene. It's been,
I don't know how many years since I've seen that.
I got a big clip on, Valentine's Day. I did some work for Rotten Tomatoes. There's a video coming out. You'll see. So now I know like every Julia Roberts movie.
Oh, man. So you'll see it about Notting Hill.
Yeah. Oh, I love Notting Hill.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I've never seen that in theaters.
I'm just a girl asking a boy. Oopsie daisy. All right. So who else you got?
And then Mary Stuart Masterson.
Oh, yeah.
Who did Some Kind of Wonderful. She was like the tomboy in her name was Tomboy in the Some Kind of Wonderful. But that was a cute movie. That was one of the ones I was going to say as a reference, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But then she did, Chances Are, Mr. North, Heaven Help Us. She always played kind of like the rough and tough girl that liked the boy, but the boy was supposed to be in love with the model-esque girl. But then she sometimes would get the boy, but sometimes not. And she was really good. She did a lot of rom-coms in the 80s. Nice. And then, of course, she was mostly famous for playing Idgie in Fried Green Tomatoes.
Idgie.
Yeah, she was great. I love her.
Oh, yeah, man.
She's a great actress.
You got some recs for me?
I do. I do like to reference a couple of movies that just in case, people are listening to this and they go, oh, well, I want to watch Valley Girl now. And they do, and they like that. You could just go on the internet and look up other movies to watch that are like Valley Girl. But, sometimes it's always nice to just hear what somebody who likes that movie references. And I have to say one of the movies that's a great one to go along with this is Romancing the Stone.
Oh, yeah. Adventure. It's a good adventure yarn.
It's great.
Yeah.
Kind of a dumb plot, but it's great.
It's fun though.
She goes her sister gets kidnapped by drug lords, so she goes in to go get her, and then she meets up with Michael Douglas, who's like this insanely handsome man, and
he's rakish. He's a rogue,
and it was like right before Indiana Jones was a thing, so it was all kind of that whole adventure moment. It's a fun movie to watch.
Oh, for sure. It's
fun. Something kind of fun fun fact about that movie is that they originally were not going to use Michael Douglas, despite the fact that he produced it.
Wow.
Because they wouldn't take him seriously as an actor because of his dad, Kirk. So he talked about this on WTF with Mark Maron, saying that It took him a long time. Even when his movies were being produced, it was hard for him to actually get a role in a movie. But this was like the movie when he did it. They were